Emily, are you thinking about traveling anywhere within the next year?
I would love to get to Texas to see the Johnson Space Center.
Oh.
But who knows when that's going to happen.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
I would
join you on that trip. Do you want to take a road trip down to Tejas?
A road trip to Houston would be so far.
I mean, it's just, we'd have to spend a night in, I don't know, Nashville. Dead silence.
That's
How do I get out of this?
I was trying to.
He's got so much logic. He's already planned the trip.
I had like a heads-up display measuring the distance between all those places. Like, is that roughly the midway point? I have no idea.
Welcome to Butter No Parsnips. Every week on Butter No Parsnips, your hosts Kyle Imperatore and Emily Moyers take you on an adventure through the weird, wacky, wonderful, and sometimes even wicked world of one wayside word. Strange characters, delightful bits, and general joyousness abound. Join them as they test each other's etymological expertise.
Heyo, I am Kyle Imperatore.
I'm Emily Moyers, and I'm feeling abrupt tonight. All my transitions will be just hard right turns.
Hard right turns.
We're going to Houston.
We're going to Houston. Welcome, everybody, to Butter No Parsnips. Today, I'm going a little word for Emily.
Kyle's got a word just for me. All of you have to stop listening. It's my word.
Just for you. It's her word. So stop listening. Every time I say the word, you have to cup your ears.
Just mute it real quick. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Emily. So your word today is Cicerone.
Cicerone?
Cicerone. Cicerone. Cicerone.
Oh. I thought maybe it would have two N's. Is it French?
It is not French. It's not French either.
Gotta be Latin then?
Yes.
In a roundabout way?
Through another language, yes.
Okay, through another language.
I can just tell you, it's through Italian.
Through Italian.
Mm-hmm.
So, Cicerone.
Close. Cicerone.
Cicerone.
Yeah.
Oh. Hey.
Hey.
Hey, I got the Fonz with me in the studio tonight, folks.
I don't think we were recording for the Fonz part earlier.
No, that's why I had to fill them in.
Gotcha.
Hard right turns.
Hard right.
Cicerone.
Gosh.
Cicerone. It can't just mean relating to the works of Cicero, can it?
It does not. No.
Is it like philosophy adjacent at all?
No.
Okay.
But
totally
that's a good
different
guess.
Oh, all right.
I will tell you that this word works as both a noun and a verb.
A verb?
Yeah, it's more used as the noun.
I guess I was thinking adjective. So, a Cicerone, but also, does a person Cicerone? He
yes.
Cicerones?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Emily, I think we need to, separate from this podcast, start working on how we can come up with better ways for us to guess these words. Because it's not easy, I think we need to come up with wow, how are we going to, because it's just where do I even start,
Because
it's hard.
I always tell myself I'll be able to break down the parts of the word.
Yeah.
And it's just, boy, I cannot.
No.
All right, I'm gonna make one stab in the dark, and then you can tell me what it actually is. Okay, when a person cicerones, they drive really, really fast in their horse-drawn carriage.
Wow.
And they go, and the sound of them going by is Cicerone.
Cicerone. Yes, it's onomatopoeic. It's perfect. It's like Tantivy.
Yes. And then you go, oh, Cicerone.
Oh, Cicerone.
Tantivy.
Cicerone.
Cicerone.
Yeah. Close, Emily, but not close.
That's fair.
The definition of Cicerone is a guide who conducts sightseers and explains the antiquities or curiosities of a place to strangers.
Oh.
Is a cicerone.
And when they're doing that, they are ciceroning?
They are ciceroning. You got it.
Wow.
Isn't that fun?
That's a lovely word.
I know. I like it a lot.
Wow. So where does it come from?
It comes from, as you so aptly put earlier, comes from the Italian Cicerone, meaning a guide who shows people around tourist sites.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Pretty obvious.
Uh-huh.
That comes from the Latin Ciceronum, which is a form of the name Cicero, which is the Latin name of the famed Roman statesman and orator Marcus Tullius Cicero.
Wow. It all comes back. Wow. So did Cicero do tour guides?
He did not do tour guides. We're going to talk about the Cicero connection in a little bit. An interesting thing about Cicerone is, although it comes from Italian, it actually appeared written in English first, and it was spelled like the Italian plural, which is Ciceroni with an I at the end.
Right.
And when it first appeared, the term specifically referred to Italian tour guides. So one can assume that the English had more of a reason for using and then writing about Italian tour guides than the Italians did.
Sure. Right? That makes sense.
But that's my justification for it anyway.
No, it makes sense. Because they write about it like, oh, this quirky thing, these Italian ciceroni, aren't they fun?
Ciceroni, yeah.
Yeah.
Between the 17th and 19th centuries, Emily, aristocrats traveled all of Europe under a tradition known as the Grand Tour. You ever heard of that?
No, I have not.
I swear to you, it is not when you play 4 matches in Mario Kart and then get a result.
I mean, that is also, but...
Yeah.
Is it like what you do in the 1800s? Like if you just finished high school, but you weren't ready to start college yet, you do a grand tour?
I mean, honestly, yes. That is pretty much exactly it. Yes. You nailed, you got it on the head there.
Hey.
Mondays, happy days. Mondays, happies.
Mondays, happy days.
Hey,
wasn't that a great show, you guys?
Hey.
That's what we say every Monday when a new episode comes out. Mondays, happy days.
So, Emily, the Grand Tour was a cultural custom that served as a rite of passage for young Europeans coming of age. So, yeah, you are completely correct.
Wow.
Basically, European men were encouraged to learn about cultural antiquity and Renaissance history. So they would be swept away and go tour all of Europe so that they could learn about all these things and bring it back to their homeland and make their relatives and family and the people that they lived around smarter for knowing all this stuff.
More cultured. That makes sense, because I feel like a lot of these old books that we look at for this podcast are like travel logs.
Yes.
So that would explain why.
I mean, that was a big part of them taking these tours, was that they should record what they were doing so that they could bring it back for posterity's sake, for all of history to know what they learned and all that stuff.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, thank you. You've given us fodder for all these podcasts.
I mean, truly, yeah. So since they were encouraged to learn about cultural antiquity and Renaissance history, it made Italy a must-see, which fostered a need for tour guides throughout the region. And these tour guides were often learned antiquarians with a distinct knowledge of the history and curios of local cultures.
Of local Italian cultures?
Well, I mean, it could be any place in Europe that they were at, but specifically the Italian guides were called Cicerones.
Oh, so you're saying the guides anywhere in Europe would be learned antiquarians,
Yes.
but the Italian ones were Cicerones. Gotcha.
Yes. So the word Cicerone first appeared in Joseph Addison's 1726 Dialogues upon the Usefulness of Ancient Metals, which is his travel guide, like doing that, but also like he's talking about ancient metals as in coins and like how much you could learn from coins.
Oh, wow. He was like, I got to find my niche in this travelogue market.
Yeah.
I got to narrow in or nobody's going to buy my book.
Yeah, man. What's going to separate mine from all the other travel books about Italy? I know. It'll be a coin collecting book.
Yeah. I'll get in on all those old men who collect coins.
In 1726.
Yeah, they had like those folders with the state quarters.
Yeah. State quarters.
Yeah, the Italian
state quarters. I mean, back then, I don't think Italy was a unified country yet, so that makes sense.
Kingdoms, yeah.
Yeah.
But they did definitely have quarters.
They definitely had quarters, yeah, without a doubt. We know that for a fact. And they all had George Washington on them, weirdly enough. So, in his book, Addison explains excitedly just how knowledgeable these Cicerones were. He says, I must own to you, it surprised me to see my Cicerone so well acquainted with the busts and statues of all the great people of antiquity. There was not an emperor or empress but he knew by sight. Let a bust be never so disfigured, they have 1,000 marks by which to decipher it. They will know a Zenobia by the sitting of her diadem, and will distinguish the Faustinas by their different way of tying up their hair. Oh, sir, says Cynthio, they will go a great deal farther. They will give you the name and titles of a statue that has lost his nose and ears, or, if there is but half a beard remaining, will tell you at first sight who was the owner of it. He was just so excited. He was like, oh my God, I could show them anything and they'll know who it is.
Is it like, I don't know if you'll know the answer, but like today a tour guide is like at a spot. And like when you go to the Sistine Chapel, there's just a Sistine Chapel tour guide. Is this like you would just have your Cicerone in Italy and they'd go where you want to go?
Not exactly. Remember, this took place like the grand tour extended over like 200 years of history.
Right.
So at first, Cicerone were just literally you would go out and find somebody who worked in art, in a museum, in history, that you would say, hey, I'll pay you some money if you could take me around town and tell me about these things. So that wasn't their job. They were just called Cicerone.
Sure. But they wouldn't be like tied to a place.
Not
they could just
yet.
Ooh.
As of the 1700s, as of Joseph Addison's writing, they were not.
Gotcha. And I mean, it sounds like a fun way to do it, where you just have a guide that you could bring anywhere. Yeah. Be like, tell me about this thing.
Yeah. I mean, imagine you could just like go to, Texas and call up the mayor and say, hey, can you walk me around town? Tell me what the best places to eat are.
Can you take me to the Johnson Space Center?
Yeah, so this ability to talk extensively about a subject is how the occupation got its connection to Cicero.
Sure.
We're going to talk a little bit about Cicero now. Emily, what do you know about Cicero?
I know he gave us the first instance of afflatus in writing.
Oh, wow, I forgot about that.
I know he wrote a book about religion, and it was a conversation between three philosophers.
Yes.
Melissa McCarthy, John Voight, and...
I'm John Voight!
Another one.
Guys, Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. There we
go.
You guys, it's been a long time since we recorded that episode.
It was a while.
So those are all the things I know about Cicero.
I mean, great. I mean, a really solid foundation.
Thanks,
None of that has anything to do with the history of him that we're going to talk about today, but good.
We're not talking about Columbo McCarthy?
Oh, I mean, we can. I'm sure there's a way we could shoehorn her into this. So the name Cicero comes from the Latin cicer, which means chickpea.
Chickpea?
Chickpea.
The most knowledgeable of beans.
Yes, the smartest legume. There's a couple reasons why this might be the case, why Cicero is named Cicero.
Okay.
One rumor suggests the name came from an ancestor's nose with warts like chickpeas.
Oh, that really paints a picture.
Oh, yeah.
Is that why all their noses fell off the statue?
Yeah.
They were weighed down by chickpea warts?
Yeah. They were warty like witches' noses.
Ugh, somebody knocked them all off on purpose because they were like, no one's going to respect these guys if they look like this.
Somebody's got to do them a favor. Or maybe somebody mistook the warts for chickpeas and were trying to gnaw on them.
Have a little snack.
Have a little snack. So that rumor is probably unlikely, as we know that Cicero himself was probably wartless because portrayals of him were wartless at the time, and around the time that he was being sculpted, artists would sculpt their clients as they were. They wouldn't exaggerate or make them look nicer, so we believe that Cicero wasn't warty and that he probably didn't get them from ancestors.
That's fair.
So, yeah, it's fair, right? I'd like to be remembered as not warty, so...
Well, but like the Greeks and Romans were very much like, love your body, however it is. So we're gonna sculpt you literally warts and all.
Warts and all.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. It's more likely that his family had made a living growing and selling chickpeas at some point. That's what we believe is to be the case.
Yeah.
Romans often chose down-to-earth family names. Some similar examples include the Fabius, Lentulus, and Piso family names.
Amazing.
Can you tell me what those names might translate to?
I mean, fava beans, lentils, and peas?
You got it. Yep. Well, it's just beans, lentils, and peas, but yes.
Beans, yeah.
We don't exactly know where Cicero comes from, because also kicker was not only Latin for chickpea, it was also Latin slang for testicle. So, who knows?
God.
It could be anything.
You know, I feel like a lot of things end up being slang for testicle.
Really, whatever you want at this point, you know. Cicero became known for his own Ciceronian style of rhetoric, which was characterized by melodious language, clarity, and forcefulness of presentation. Remember, he was a famed orator and lawyer and politician.
Yeah. All those paintings of him, like, walking down a hallway holding books, talking.
Yes, exactly.
Intelligently.
I'm imagining it like Degrassi, but yeah.
I know, the way I said it made it sound like Degrassi. But you had to see the painting in my head.
That's who Drake played, right? With Cicero?
Maybe there's a shark in the water. Sorry, go on. That was just for Seth.
So, in particular, Cicero was known for mastering something called the periodic sentence. Have you ever heard of that, Emily?
Oh, the period. Is that like a sentence that has all the elements in it? Like the periodic table?
Yes, it's like the periodic table, but you have to make it into a game.
The periodic sentence. I don't know what that is, but I'm intrigued.
Yeah, he mastered it. He really did. He became famous for it. And it's a stylistic device in which the audience is led along gradually so that the idea isn't completed until the very end of the sentence.
Oh, I feel like I have heard of this before. Do you have an example?
So, an example of Cicero being translated correctly into English is, that measure was, by the assent of the lower senators, but with none of my own authority, passed.
Sure.
Because
just with a lot of clauses.
The noun and the verb aren't completed until the very end, right?
Yeah.
A different way to translate that would be, that measure was passed by the assent of the lower senators, but with none of my own authority.
That doesn't leave you in suspense as much as the first one.
Right. And he really used this and abused this.
I mean, I feel like it's a good way to make sure your audience is listening.
Yeah.
They have to stay tuned to get to the end of the thought.
And it made his thoughts forceful, so it helped his arguments in courts and stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
A famous example of usage of the periodic sentence comes from Nikolai Gogol's short story, The Overcoat, in which Gogol writes a sentence that is nearly 300 words, with the subject-verb group contained within just the last 9 words.
No.
Yes. So I can't read the entire thing for you because it would take all day.
Sure.
But I did cut it down by half, and I'd like to read this paraphrasing for you because it's fun.
Please.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Even at those hours when the gray Petersburg sky is completely overcast and the whole population of clerks have dined and eaten their fill, each as best he can, according to the salary he receives and his personal tastes, at the time when all the clerks are scattered about the apartments of their friends, playing a stormy game of whist, sipping tea out of glasses, eating cheap biscuits, sucking in smoke from long pipes, telling, as the cards are dealt, some scandal that has floated down from higher circles, a pleasure which the Russian do never by any possibility deny himself, or when there is nothing better to talk about, repeating the everlasting anecdote of the commanding officer who was told that the tail had been cut off the horse on the Falconet Monument. In short, even when everyone was eagerly seeking entertainment, Akaki Akakievich did not indulge in any amusement.
Wow.
That's half of the sentence.
That's so fun, though. I was smiling through that whole thing.
Is that so fun? I was like, wow, this is like a really great writing style.
Yeah, it truly keeps you on the edge of your seat.
I can see how it works better in oration, because like trying to read a sentence that long, you get lost easily.
Right, but like having the benefit of inflection helps a lot. Because like
Yes.
the way that you read it is like, I haven't gotten to my thought yet.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I can just imagine Cicero in Latin in that like a funny voice, like, and then I guess my Cicero's just JFK. And then we decided to do a lot of things, like make the bed, and eventually we will build the Johnson Space Center. Yes, so that style, that was a part of the Ciceronian style, what was come to known as the Ciceronian style. And people began to imitate Cicero because they believed in his writing style so vehemently. And this imitation was called Ciceronianism.
We're just getting longer and longer.
Yeah. And Ciceronianism reached a boiling point during the Renaissance period when poor imitation of Cicero's writing style ran rampant. It was so bad that Desiderius Erasmus, who was one of the leading thinkers of the Renaissance, responded to this trend in his treatise Ciceronianus, in which he attacked Ciceronians for idolizing Cicero to the point where Latin had lost its meaning and had become a dead language.
Wow. So how do people use Ciceronianism badly?
They would like imitate the style, but have none of the substance.
Gotcha.
So it would be long-winded sentences, but they weren't making a point. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And so these people were like seen as like, by a certain culture, they were seen as zealots who adhered to Ciceronian ideals for writing and orating, but didn't have any of his meaning behind it, you know?
Yeah, it was plated butter is what it was.
It was plated butter! Exactly, Emily! Wow, good. Love
Thanks,
that.
it just came to me.
So, Ciceroneship, the act of being a Cicerone,
Sure.
right, seems to have experienced a similar fall from grace.
Oh, the tour guide.
Yes.
Oh.
So in the 1800s, the tourism industry in Italy took on a bit of a negative connotation. With the advent of the steam engine, it meant cheaper and safer travel, and so upper middle class Europeans were able to undertake the Grand Tour as well.
Much more quickly, but with less exploration.
Well, yeah, I mean, they previously only the super wealthy were able to do this, you know?
Mm-hmm. Right, now anybody could afford, or more people at least.
More people. You still had to be pretty wealthy, but the, upper middle class could do it. And for the first time, the Grand Tour also became a must for the flourishing young aristocratic woman as well, usually accompanied by some spinster aunt.
What a disaster. The women could travel.
What a disaster. How dare they? That's what ruined everything.
They can write letters and vote. My God.
No, actually, what ruined it was the fact that so many people were traveling to Italy now. The industry need had grown so large that many individuals, knowledgeable or not, had become cicerones to earn a few extra lira.
I love the idea of someone giving a tour of Italy and just making up everything coming out of their mouths.
Well, Emily, you're going to love the next two accounts I have for you.
Oh, no. Just, here's the Leaning Tower of Pisa. It's leaning because, actually, a few years ago, a big meteorite fell in the side of it, and it just knocked over a little bit. Let's move on.
I've got a question.
Save all questions for the end of the tour after I've left.
And you've paid me.
You've paid.
So one gentleman who wrote about this was a man named William Young, and he wrote in an article entitled Brigands, Beggars, and Souvenirs, an unfavorable review of his time in Italy.
It's a good title, though. It's pithy.
It is very good, isn't it? He says, I declare that of all the mythical personages of classic lore brought back to one's memory by local association, whether in the Elysian fields or on the borders of Lake Avernus, the Harpies are those who alone survive and who obtrude themselves always and everywhere, in season and out of season. The foul brood have assumed human semblance and haunt you in all varieties. The unbidden cicerone or the sturdy beggar, it is hard to say which is the worse.
I mean, if you change the language around, that sounds like a Yelp review that could be left today.
I mean, honestly, I think it was like 1800s Yelp, you know?
Yeah.
It's basically like, would not recommend.
0 out of 10.
Yeah, it's 0 out of 10 stars. You don't know how many stars are used in Yelp reviews. Is it 10 stars? I don't know how many stars are used in Yelp reviews. I'm glad we've all had this adventure today.
What a fall from grace Kyle just had.
Yeah.
He said, I know, and Emily doesn't. Actually, I don't know.
A more pointed example, Emily, comes from a letter written by the American author Nathaniel Parker Willis. You're going to like this one.
Well, that's good. I like ones that I'm going to like.
So, Willis says, a humpbacked cicerone there took me to Juliet's tomb. An old woman answered the bell at the dilapidated gate and, without saying a word, pointed to an empty granite sarcophagus raised upon a rude pile of stones. Questa? Asked I with a doubtful look. Questa, said the old woman. Questa, said the hunchback. And here I was to believe lay the gentle Juliet. But where was the tomb of the Capulets? The beldam took me through a cabbage garden and drove off a donkey who was feeding on an artichoke that grew on the very spot. Ecco, said she, pointing to one of the slightly sunken spots on the surface. I deferred my belief, and paying an extra paul for the privilege of chipping off a fragment of the stone coffin, followed the cicerone.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, he doesn't know. It could have been.
I mean, the real thing, though, is I don't think were either of those people were the Capulets a real family?
I don't know.
You know,
sometimes Shakespeare did adapt.
Yeah, right.
Stuff.
But even then, from the sources that he was getting, who knows how much of that was real and not mythology?
Update from this Google search: no,
they were not. Yeah, so.
No.
Eccolo.
I mean, honestly, then you're at fault for paying someone to show you Juliet's grave. You're a dumb tourist, and they rightly took advantage of it. You said, I'm in Italy. Where are the Mario brothers buried?
So, as you can clearly understand, Emily, the Grand Tour tradition had waned in Europe by the end of the 19th century.
Yeah.
But it was just as, and also partly due to, the advent of mass tourism in Italy.
Sure. So people were just doing a visit to Italy rather than
yes,
a whole shebang.
So the English businessman Thomas Cook started a travel agency called Thomas Cook & Son, and along with it, he was one of the first to sell package tours, where one fee would cover the cost of travel, accommodations, and the like.
Oh. That's in the late 1800s?
Late 1800s. I believe the 1870s was when this became super popular.
That is early for a
his
package
tours,
deal vacation.
I know, right? It really was the advent of our modern day tourism.
Yeah.
And his tours were so popular they were just called Cook's tours. Like they had a colloquialism name.
I feel like I've heard that.
And his agency made travel available to the masses, which was a big turnoff for the European aristocracy, of course.
Sure.
But the agency had inadvertent effects, like helping to circulate and stabilize Italy's new currency, the lira.
Oh.
And it made travel affordable for middle-class Italians in Italy.
Interesting. Like within Italy?
Within Italy. So the middle class of Italy was able to get around more and travel more often because of his tourism agency and the kind of inroads that they laid with train travel and all that stuff like that.
Sure. Oh, that's nice.
But as the Grand Tour fell out of favor in Europe, it began to grow in America thanks to the Gilded Age renewed interest in European sophistication, which was something that was satirized by Mark Twain in his travel book, The Innocents Abroad. This book, The Innocents Abroad, became Twain's best-selling book, and it is one of the best-selling travel books of all time.
Wow. Better selling than like all of his novels?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I guess people were like, I want to go to Italy.
Sure. And who
what
can I
did
trust
Mark Twain say about it?
to tell me about it? Yeah. Anthony Bourdain of his time.
Yes. The Anthony Mark Twain.
Anthony Mark Twain.
So by this point, Emily, the term Cicerone had been attached to a guide of any locale, and now it can be used as widely to mean a guide through something like a literary or an artistic work, as in a narrator or a reviewer.
Oh, like we are Cicerone of words?
Of words, exactly, Emily.
Wow. Oh, I should have saved that for my sentence.
You should have, because that's coming up in 1 second.
Oh,
Ready?
Crap.
Before that, I want to say, even more recently, the term Cicerone has taken on a secondary meaning. It is the beer industry's analog to the wine industry's sommelier.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so somebody who...
A beer Cicerone?
A Cicerone, yeah.
Do they, like, come around at restaurants and say, like, this is what I recommend with your meal?
There's, like, a real push in the beer industry to try and, like... fancify beers. So there's like all of these Cicerone programs where you can get like a degree in Ciceroning so that you can like know about all the beers. Yeah. So yes, that might be
that's like that's like a current developing thing.
Yes.
Oh,
it's
fun.
like within the past 15 years it's become a thing.
Man, you guys, language is always evolving.
It's always evolving. And Emily knows so much about that I'm going to ask her, Emily, can you use Cicerone in a sentence?
Let's try. All right. I mean, I could go for the easy route here. I went to Italy once in my childhood and had a wonderful Cicerone show me around. Actually, we got a private Cicerone to show us around an Italian vineyard.
That's actually very good, Emily. That's a really good usage of Cicerone, and I'm really proud of you for that, because we've had pretty bad luck in these use it in a sentence portions of the podcast, so nice job.
Yeah, wait till they get to next week.
Yeah. All right, Emily, you're riding on top. Are you ready for a game?
Ooh, I'm riding high. Let's see if I can keep this luck going.
I doubt it. Okay. Emily, your game today is called That's a Tour.
Oh, Kyle. It's really good.
So, Emily, whilst doing research into Ciceroning, I came across a number of other long-forgotten or traditional Italian occupations.
Ooh.
So, I'm going to give you the name of some of these occupations, and I want you to guess what that profession was.
I mean, I did such a good job with Cicerone. Where can I go wrong?
Yeah. So the first one you're going to get is the saponaro. It's Saponaro.
A saponato.
Yeah, I'll give you one guess for each of them.
A saponato.
Thank you.
Is someone who chops down trees. Just a lumberjack.
No, Emily, a saponaro is a ragman.
A ragman?
Like a ragman.
Meaning what?
So saponato comes from sapone, meaning soap.
Oh.
And a saponato was someone who collected rags and bits of clothing in exchange for pieces of soap.
So you would trade in your clothes and get soap? Like your
and
old
get
dirty
soap.
Interesting.
It was like a traveling laundry guy.
Weird deal, but I guess good.
The next one is the tamburinaio.
Ooh.
It is spelled Tamburinaio. Tamburinaio.
I mean, I cannot avoid the fact that the beginning of this word is tambourine. So is it a musician? A tambourinist?
Wow, no, it's not.
Oh.
A tamburinaio is a tambourine salesman.
Oh, all right. I was close.
So I guess this was just a specific job in Italy. Came from the Italian tamburello, meaning tambourine. And for context, the image that I found presents a man wearing a pyramid of tambourines on his head, like a Devo hat. And I'm just going to grab that image real quick to show you, because it is, wow.
Oh my gosh, it is. There's all stacked up.
They're all stacked up. Okay, your next clue is the Maruzzaro. Maruzzaro. Maruzzaro.
Okay, a maruzzaro is a mouse catcher.
That's actually, I like that. That's pretty good.
Oh,
You're
thanks.
good. You're close in the sense that it is about an animal.
Oh.
But a maruzzaro was a snail vendor.
A snail vendor.
Yep, from the Italian maruzza, meaning snail or sea snail. These guys, they just sold snails on the street.
Oh, I guess for like eating.
I guess, yeah.
I mean,
I didn't.
in England, they made like eel pastries out of eels from the Thames. So
Yeah, but it's
people
just,
eat
I guess,
whatever they got.
It's interesting that you would only sell that, you know?
I mean, if that's what you're good at, maybe they made like real good snails.
Yeah, they bred the snails.
Yeah.
All right, two more, Emily. This one's called the Zampognari. Zampognari.
So this is plural. Is it like a league of people?
Yes.
Okay. These were all of the many people in Italy who I feel it's something like the lamplighters, I'll stick with that, the lamplighters.
No, but I like that a lot. That's a good one too.
I was trying to think of what would be like a group.
The Zampognari are Christmas time musicians that play a folk oboe called the charamella and the Neapolitan bagpipes called the zampogna.
Wow, the Neapolitan bagpipes.
Bagpipes. Did I say bagpipes?
You did.
I meant bagpipes. Woof.
Wow, I mean, that sounds like interesting Christmas music, but
yes.
I bet it's nice.
So, like Christmas carolers, the Zampognari travel house to house playing Christmas music, specifically a single carol they were known for called Quando nascette Nino, which means when the child was born, and they still busk the streets of Italy today during Christmas time.
Oh, that's nice.
All right, Emily, your last one is the Franfellicaro, and it's spelt Franfellicaro. Franfellicaro.
Ooh, I almost feel like I could break this word down, but I don't think I can.
You can't.
Franfellicaro is someone who makes little tchotchkes out of bits of string.
Man, I freaking love that, man. It's not, but we gotta make that we gotta pay someone to do that, you know? That's gonna be the next Butter No Parsnips Patreon tier. $30 a month gets us to hire somebody to make tchotchkes out of little bits of string. No, Emily, a Franfellicaro is a candy seller.
Oh.
Specifically, they sold Franfellicca, which was a soft caramel candy stuck on a stick to prevent your hands from getting sticky. It's a precursor to the lollipop.
Oh, interesting.
And Franfellicca literally translates to something like, you look like something the cat dragged in. I guess because it was just like a big mess, so you had to put it on a stick.
So funny.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, those are all delightful words. Cicerone is fantastic. I don't know how I'm gonna find opportunities to use it.
I mean, we Cicerone, you Cicerone, I Cicerone, he, she, we, me, Cicerone.
We do. We just got done Ciceroning, ladies and gents. And if you like this Ciceroning, remember you can find Butter No Parsnips on social media, on Facebook and on Instagram at Butter No Parsnips Podcast. You can consider giving us a 5-star rating or a review wherever you heard us.
And if you really liked today's Ciceroning, consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/butternoparsnips. Donating $5 or more earns you a shout out either on social media or here on the podcast.
Yeah, so thanks so much to all of you. You help us make what we make.
And with that, I've been Kyle Imperatore.
And I've been Emily Moyers. And this has been Butter No Parsnips.
Thank you for listening to Butter No Parsnips. Butter No Parsnips is produced by Seth Gliksman, Emily Moyers, and Kyle Imperatore. The theme music and additional music is by Kyle Imperatore. If you liked listening to this episode, subscribe and give us a good rating and or positive review wherever you heard it. If you really liked listening, consider donating to our Patreon at patreon.com/butternoparsnips. There you can get bonus content you can't get anywhere else, like the monthly Patreon exclusive podcast Buttered Parsnips. Your support means the world to us and encourages us to keep making more. Thanks in advance, and we'll be back next week.